Da 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 da. Welcome to disenFRIENDSchised. It's the podcast from The Naked Grief. I'm Karen Belinsky Matheson, and we are dissecting Friends episodes one at a time, identifying disenfranchised grief through the lens of Friends. We're on season 1, episode 22, the one with the Ick Factor. I'm going to try and keep a brief summary of the episode. We've got two key players in this episode, Monica and Chandler. Monica is dating young Ethan, thinking that he's in college, only to find out that he's actually a high school senior, turning a romantic third date-ish moment into a full-body panic about reality, consent, and consequences. Meanwhile, Chandler's promotion creates a different kind of loss. He realizes his coworkers don't like the boss man Bing, while Phoebe is being a temp for Chandler. She's an outsider turned into an instant insider and ends up being the mirror that shows Chandler what's changed. Today's grief lens is about grief when the story collapses, not death grief, expectation grief, identity grief, belonging grief. The kind of grief that happens when you realize the thing I thought I was building isn't what I thought it was, or the version of me that fit here doesn't fit anymore. So the Monica and Ethan story, expectation grief, and that moment you realize this is real. Monica's storyline's funny on the surface, but underneath it's intense because it's a perfect example of how fast the nervous system can flip when reality changes. Monica's invested. She's been dating young Ethan. She likes him. She's trying to impress him, making a nice meal, making sure that everything's on time, that she's ready. And Rachel even asks, Monica, you're flipping out. You okay? Did you shave your legs? And Monica says, yeah. So she's expecting more from this date than just a hangout. She's preparing. She's hoping. She's letting herself want this date to go further. And that's where expectation grief starts, before anything goes wrong. Because when you let yourself want something, you start building a future in your head. You start imagining the next date, the next month, the next version of you, and the next version of you as a couple with someone. The collapse, the truth changes what she consented to. So as Monica and Ethan's date progresses and she invites him to spend the night, and then he confesses that he's never done that before, she's good with that. And then he's all excited, and afterwards he says, I have a confession. I'm not as old as you think I am. And she says, what, you're not a senior? And he says, well, I'm a senior in high school. And now we have the shock, the fear, the disgust, the shame, and the panic all set in onto Monica. Monica didn't consent to dating a high school senior. Monica consented to the story that she believed, that he was a college senior. And when the story collapses, the body reacts like it's in danger. And yes, there's the legal ethical layer that makes her freak out make sense. She's not wrong to be scared. She's not wrong to be horrified. And then Ethan tries to explain, I only did it because I was falling in love with you. And this is where the episode actually gets heavy. Ethan isn't portrayed as a villain. He's portrayed as a kid who wanted to be chosen. And that line is a perfect example of how people justify bending the truth. I did it because I liked you. I did it because I didn't want to lose you. I did it to protect you. I did it because I thought if you knew the real me, you'd walk away. Well, in this case, Monica should have known because it would have been her choice. And that's not a love story. That's a self-worth story. And it creates grief on both sides. Monica grieves the relationship she thought she was going to have. Ethan grieves the relationship that he wanted to have. And both of them grieve the fact that feelings don't erase consequences. And even though Monica decides to shut the door on the relationship, they still developed feelings for each other, and it was hard for both of them. So one of the coaching moments to talk Monica off the ledge without minimizing her is, I wouldn't be telling her to calm down. I'd be letting her know that she wasn't overreacting and her body's responding to a reality shift. This isn't about the number of years, it's about truth, power, and consent. You didn't consent to what you didn't know. And the right decision can still hurt. Again, feelings developed. The fun that you shared, those moments together, even if it was only a few dates, it felt real. And then to know that that reality got messy because of lies. And she wasn't innocent either because she lied about her age. She was 26 and said, I think she was 24, but she was still legal and he was borderline. The part people skip is, well, obviously you have to break up. Well, yeah, but Monica's still allowed to grieve. She's allowed to be angry. She's allowed to be a lot of things because there was chemistry, there was hope, there was a version of herself that was excited. And that moment that they were together really felt real and hopeful. Expectation grief is real grief, and that's a big takeaway. When the story collapses, you're not grieving nothing. You're grieving the future that you already started living in your head. And I think it's pretty safe to say we've all done that. And this isn't the only time that we see Monica in a relationship with an age gap. And we'll delve into that later, but it goes along with that Ick Factor and Dobler and Dahmer. There's Dahmer moments when things feel stalky and icky. And then there's Dobler moments when, if the chemistry's right, it doesn't matter how you got there, it's okay and considered romantic and sweet. If the right person passes you a note in high school, you're excited. If the wrong person passes you a note in high school that you're just not into, ew, yuck. So I know I'm kind of minimizing the Monica Ethan situation, but the episode kind of did the same. And she learned from it, even though it was hard. And her friends teased her for it, which did not help her through her grief at all. Because them picking on her about the Power Rangers and all of that stuff, like, ugh. So let's move on to Chandler. So Chandler has belonging grief. He gets a promotion. And this is disenfranchised grief at its finest because a promotion is a positive thing. And yet for Chandler, it's also saying goodbye to the old version of himself where he was friends with his coworkers. They invited him to parties. They wanted to hang out with him at the water cooler. And now if he walks by, they stop talking or they talk about him or mimic him or whatever. So he hires Phoebe because he needs an assistant while his is out. And she confesses to him, well, they don't like you. What do you mean they don't like me? You're not one of the guys anymore. You're Mr. Bing. You're Mr. Boss Man Bing. And that does not hit Chandler very well. You know, part of why Chandler leans on being the funny guy is because he wants to be likable. So he's not just upset that people dislike him. He's upset because he doesn't know how to be this version of himself. He's losing the comfort of being liked. He's losing the safety of belonging. And this is identity grief. Who am I if I'm not the funny guy? Who am I if I'm not invited in? Who am I if the room changes when I walk in? A coaching moment would be normalizing the loss without telling Chandler to shrink. His instinct is to chase approval, and that's human. But the coaching move is you don't have to beg to be liked. You can be a decent boss and still be human. Sometimes growth costs belonging, and that doesn't mean the growth was wrong. One of the things that Phoebe said was, they still like you, but you're the boss. And Chandler goes, and she's like, but you can't. And he goes, and she's like, but you can't. You're the boss. Now there's a clear line between you. And they can like you, they can think you're a great boss, but you're not going to be their buddy. So the practical move for Chandler is to lead clearly and to not try and fall backwards, because he needs to step into that new footing of being the boss and remembering why he became the boss. What qualities did he have before he got promoted that got him there? So leading by example and rolling up his sleeves and doing the stuff that needs to be done beside his staff and working as a team, it shifts where he used to be while still having the respect that he needs to be the good leader. Meanwhile, Phoebe is a temp and is working towards fitting in at Chandler's job. And she always becomes the person everyone likes. She's like the chameleon. She just knows how to blend. And it happens repeatedly throughout the series. Phoebe's a visitor, but she gets welcomed. We see it when Ross moves into his new building many seasons from now. But in this one, Chandler becomes the boss and gets iced out, and Phoebe tries to let him in. She tells him about parties that are going on and things like that. And he's like, well, why wasn't I invited? Well, you can come, just don't come with me, because I can't be the girl that brought the boss. She's not performing a status. She's not competing for power. She's not desperate to be chosen. She's just Phoebe. And being herself pays off constantly for her. Sometimes the people who struggle most with belonging are the people that are trying the hardest to control how they're perceived. Phoebe doesn't chase belonging. She creates it. So for Phoebe, there's really not much of a coaching moment because she can coach others on this. If you're someone who always feels like you're an outsider looking in, the reframe would be outsiders often see the truth faster. Outsiders often connect more honestly, and outsiders often have less to lose socially, so they're freer. And yes, there's grief in being the outsider, but there's also power in it. And once you get that acceptance just for being who you are and not worrying about trying to fit into a certain mold or trying to shave down parts of you to be that right puzzle piece, that acceptance is authentic. And Phoebe is genuinely, authentically accepted in almost every situation she ever encounters. It's why breakups are easier for her, because she knows how to empathize and relate and communicate clearly. And it's why she can easily adjust and adapt. And even though she seems quirky, she also seems the most grounded for everything that she's been through, which we're still uncovering a little at a time in season 1, and really see her at her fullest, I think, in like season 4 or 5, when we find out more about her life on the streets and things. But she's really amazing. The thread that ties Monica and Chandler together in this episode is that they're both dealing with the same kind of core pain. The moment you realize the version of you that felt safe is not the version of you that exists anymore is when you start to feel collapsing or changes. For Monica, her safe story breaks apart, and for Chandler, his safe identity changes. And both of them have to make a decision. Monica chooses boundaries over chemistry, and Chandler has to choose leadership over approval, and that is real growth. And growth often feels like grief at first. Sometimes the exact same behaviors feel sweet or creepy depending on trust, context, and whether you feel safe. Chemistry doesn't get to override the reality. So that's a lot of info in a 22-minute episode that took me just under 15 minutes to explain. I think that might be a record for me, actually. So I do want to just kind of remind you about the Naked Grief. It's a private, judgment-free space to process anything that's changed in your life. We use practical tools, prompts, and guidance that you can use right away with multiple styles of support in our membership communities, so you can choose what fits and switch if you need to. There's Tri-weekly check-ins to determine whether or not the information that you're getting in whichever circle you choose is the right place to stay, or if it's time to, using Ross's terms, pivot to another circle because of some life events or sensitive times that may be approaching that may need to give you more tools or a different kind of support. There's a path to find your footing, one small step at a time. If you're not ready for therapy or coaching yet, but you know you need something, The Naked Grief is a great place to start. There's a lot of free resources too, so check it out. And until next time, when we hit the episode 23, the one with the birth, which we're going to talk about anticipatory anxiety control and what happens when your nervous system can't stand not knowing. Follow The Naked Grief for new resources, updates, and support. Until next time, da 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 da